is truly a relationship you are having with yourself. This entire journey of self is really being aware of the type of relationship that you have with yourself. And hi, guys. Welcome back to the Selfish podcast with Kina. My name is Kina, and I am so happy to be here with you guys again for this third episode. If you're watching me on YouTube, welcome back to the Selfish Podcast YouTube channel. I love making these videos, to be honest. I am really enjoying making these episodes and making these videos. I love the feedback that I get from you guys over on Instagram. On Instagram, I'm Kina, KENNNAA. I think I will put my Instagram and my TikTok handle in the description box so you can find me. But yeah, I have really been enjoying making these videos, and I am so grateful to know that it is reaching the audience that I intended for it to reach, and that my knowledge is helping people. Sorry if you can hear the banging in the background. They chose to do some work on the building on the day that I chose to record this video, this podcast. But you know what? Life goes on. Perfectionism kills progress. That is my motto. Let's go, let's get into it. So, today I want to talk about self trust. And I feel like this is a very important topic that people kind of skip over in the personal development, self growth community. But I really focus on everything to do with self, and on my journey to really finding myself and doing selfish, I realized I did not trust myself. Like, I would second guess everything that I would do. I would constantly be worried about if I'm doing it right. I had severe perfectionism. So, having this perfectionist mentality accompanied with the fact that I second guess everything that I do, it really became very overwhelming mentally, because here I am writing out all of these goals and these lists of things that I genuinely want to work on, and I'm motivated. But when it came time to put in action, I realized I procrastinated. I was being what I would call an excellent planner and a very, very not so good executor. Like, when it came to actually putting in action to execute a plan that I would make towards bettering myself, I realized that I would really fall into not being able to do it, not taking action. And a lot of thoughts would come up in my head, and I would say, well, I don't have this year, or I don't have that year, I am not this, and I am not that, and I am underqualified. I had a lot of self doubt. And because I had a really serious inner critic, it kind of like amplified that self doubt. And I did not believe in myself. And I don't want to say I didn't believe in myself, because I started out with this growth wanting to manifest. Like, my journey to self stemmed from me wanting to manifest external things, and I realized that the only way for me to properly manifest these external things was for me to actually sit down and deal with who I am as a person. And then my desires started to change. My desires now focused on really loving, knowing, and growing within myself. And when I realized that I did not trust myself, I realized that this was one of the biggest things hindering me, because self lack of self trust means you don't have courage in yourself. You don't believe in your abilities. So anytime you try to take action in a specific area, it is not going to work out, because you don't even trust yourself enough to take the first step. What self trust is for me is like this deep reliance on yourself and your abilities, like, to get through life, like this deep knowing that no matter what happens, you are capable and able to get through it. That is what self trust was for me. And when I really started to hone in on my strengths, one of my strengths that I had, or I still have, is that I am super resilient. That seriously helped me to really begin my journey with self trust, because I started to look at all of the things that had happened to me unexpectedly in the past and how I was able to navigate and get through these things. And I was like, well, if I could do that, I could do this. Having self trust is really a mindset thing. It's a change in your perspective. It's knowing that whatever comes your way, whatever life throws your way, you can handle it. It's feeling safe in relying in your emotional abilities, your physical abilities, your mental abilities, just knowing that you can trust and rely on yourself. I started to realize that I wanted people to trust me. I wanted to call myself a trustworthy person. And for the most part, my actions kind of showed me that I was a trustworthy person when it came to other people. But when it came to me, I did not trust myself. I didn't believe in my abilities because I had no proof. I needed to start to work towards building self trust within myself. And I realized that you build self trust just like how you build trust in any relationship. This is truly a relationship you are having with yourself. This entire journey of self is really being aware of the type of relationship that you have with yourself. And so when you think about it that way, when it comes to building self trust, you can look at it like how you would build trust in any other relationship. When you are building self trust, you communicate with yourself regularly. You look to yourself to help you solve certain problems. Like, these are all things you do when you're building trust in another person. And these are the same things that you do when you're building trust within yourself. And before I get into steps that we could take to specifically practice building that self trust, I would say one of the most important things to note is that the best way to erode self trust or to not trust yourself is to abandon yourself, is to practice self abandonment. And self abandonment looks like not doing what you want to do and doing things you don't want to do for the validation of someone else. Like, for example, if you want to be a doctor, but your parents want you to be a lawyer, you go ahead and pursue a career in law. But realistically speaking, you resent that. And you end up resenting them and yourself because truly you want to be a doctor. And that is like an example of what self abandonment looks like. Self abandonment really is what causes us to not trust ourselves. Think about it this way: if you had a friend and every time you guys made plans, they would agree to the plans, and then when the time comes to execute the plan to meet up, they never show up, or they constantly lie to you, or they are always not showing up for you, you would have no confidence nor trust in that person. And it's the same way with yourself. If you don't show up for yourself when you say you are going to, if you don't do the things that you know that you genuinely like, but you do other things to please other people, you are abandoning yourself and putting other people as priority. And so you are basically telling yourself that you can't be trusted. What I noticed too is that over time, this constant pattern of self abandonment, not showing up for ourselves, this not only causes you to not trust yourself, but this also makes it hard for you to trust other people. And sometimes this can show up like you are constantly worried about if someone really cares about you. You are constantly, I am saying this and I am feeling this in my body because this is something that I am also continuously working on. And the more I say out loud, the more I am seeing the pattern, because truly, this truly shows up as you constantly worried about whether or not someone actually likes you or if they're faking it, whether or not someone actually cares for you. And sometimes that thought process could be valid, but also that could be projection because you actually don't care for yourself and you actually don't genuinely like yourself because you don't know yourself and you don't show up for yourself. So every little mistake that someone else does, it may not be them not showing up, but just in this moment they are genuinely not able to. Instead of you seeing that for what it is, you take that as that you don't trust this person. This person doesn't care about you. This person doesn't like you. This person doesn't show up for you. You don't see that as just a one time what it is, but you see that as I can't trust this person. And that is what projection looks like. That is you projecting onto this person because you genuinely don't trust or like yourself. So I would say to build your self trust, to start this process, first be kind and gracious to yourself in the process and start to see your actions as I'm going to take actions towards myself the way how I would expect someone else to treat me or the way how I would treat the person that I love and care for the most in the entire world. So today I would love to share with you 5 things. I did a lot of things, but I want to share these specific 5 things that I started to practice to help me on my journey of trusting myself. The first thing I did was become aware of the promises that I made to myself and be intentional about keeping them. I would wake up in the morning and be like, yeah, so today I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And I would never do these things. And what would happen was the next day, after I had prioritized everything and everyone else other than what I said to myself I was going to do, other than keeping the promises that I made to myself, I would wake up the next day and I would feel so bad. Or even before I go to sleep, I would feel so bad. I would start to beat up myself. I would ask myself questions like, why do I never do these things? Why can I never keep a goal? Why can I never stick to nothing? I would constantly beat on myself for not sticking to the things that I said I was going to do. Me not sticking to those things, me not committing to the promises that I would tell myself, it basically taught my brain to never trust anything that I said. And so it just became this cycle of me promising, not keeping the promise, my brain not trusting me promising, not keeping the promise, my brain not trusting me. It just continued to be this cycle. And so I started to look at it from a different point of view. I started with the promises to begin with. What are the promises I am making to myself? Are these things that are so far fetched in the moment that, of course, I would not be able to fulfill this promise? Or are these things that are actually attainable and tangible for me to physically do, for me to put effort into and accomplish? For example, I would say to myself, today I am going to run for 30 minutes, coming from a place of not having walked for 10 minutes in such a long time. And I'm going to say to myself, today I'm going to run for 30 minutes. Now, that sounds so good. Oh, yes, running for 30 minutes. Woohoo. Great thing to do. But if I was being honest, my body would not been in a place where running for 30 minutes would be something that I would be able to do easily. My body was not there. I would need to start small. So I would obviously not be able to fulfill that promise. So instead of making a promise like that to myself, I would say, today I promise myself, or today my goal is to walk for 30 minutes. That is something attainable. I know I have time in my day that I could do it. I know that all I need to do is to either get up and go outside or get up and go to the gym and walk on the treadmill. I know that this is something I can do for myself. This is a promise that I can fulfill. It is in my range at this moment. I'm not saying to don't reach high or have big goals. because running for 30 minutes is still the goal, but I recognize that I have to build myself up. So when I make smaller steps, the goal in the moment, attainable steps, the goal in the moment, and then I do it, and then I go and I walk for that 30 minutes, or I even surpass that and I walk for 40, and my brain recognizes that I did the thing that I said I was going to do. That teaches my brain, me consistently doing that teaches my brain that I can trust myself. The next thing I did, step number two, was I literally approached this journey of self trust with compassion. And I speak about compassion for yourself in a lot of my videos, because I feel like this is one of the most important thing in any type of self anything journey. Anything to do with self, I feel like compassion is necessary, because you had already been going hard on yourself. You had already been pressuring yourself and expecting yourself to do certain things that you can't do, and then being harsh on yourself, saying negative things onto yourself. It is important for us to have grace and compassion, because the journey is not going to go in a straight line. It is going to be like up, down, up, down, up, down. You are literally rebuilding or starting to build new habits. And that takes time. That takes work. Building trust in any type of relationship, including the relationship with yourself, takes time, takes work, takes compassion, takes understanding. You need to have understanding and compassion for yourself, because there are going to be days when for 5 days straight you were able to show up for yourself and you build that trust, but on the sixth day something happens, you were triggered. What are you going to do in that moment when you got triggered and you didn't fulfill the thing that you said you was going to fulfill? You're going to beat up yourself, and then you're going to continue down spiraling, coming out, coming out, coming out, instead of looking at the situation and saying, you know what? I am proud of myself for the first 5 days. And today is the sixth day, and I was not able to do this, but I understand. I was triggered. And now I am able to see that this specific thing triggers me, and I can continue to work towards building this habit more, doing this thing more, showing up more. I can continue to work towards this, because now all this talk that I'm doing, this is what self compassion looks like. It doesn't look like saying, oh my God, I'm such a failure. I did it for 5 days and then I quit. No, it looks like saying, it's okay. I understand. It's valid. You were triggered. Let's work on it. Let's grow. Let's continue to build. The third thing that I started to do, step number three, was intentionally spend time with myself. Listen, I feel like this is going to be a hard one for people who are just starting on this journey, because sometimes we spend time in isolation with ourselves because we have no choice, because we're going through some type of depression or sadness, or because we have isolated ourselves to the point where we don't have anybody, we don't have a choice but to spend time with ourselves. That's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about intentional time spent with yourself, time spent journaling, time spent in an activity that brings you joy, time, do things by yourself. When I started this journey, I realized that when it came to spending time with myself, I was so okay being in my bed all day, not talking to a human being. I did not have to say anything to anybody for me to be okay. I was so fine with not having to speak to anyone. And so I just would stay in my bed and lay down, watch TV, and be in a slump. I was okay with being in a slump by myself. But if I wanted to go out, I would always want somebody to come and go somewhere with me. And that's fine. But there are times where you need to go explore the world on your own. You need to find activities that you like and do them on your own. Find something that you can have for yourself that belongs to you. You don't have to share it with anybody. It is just you and yourself in relation, enjoying this one thing, whether it is a physical activity like a sport, whether it is singing or karaoke, whatever this thing is, find a thing. One of the things that I started doing for myself, by myself, with myself, was crocheting. First, I took crochet lessons. I'm still taking them because I want to get to the level of making clothes. But I took crochet lessons, and then I watched videos and I continue to watch videos, and I do this by myself. Sometimes I would sit by like a window in my home and just sit and crochet and undo and crochet and practice and work on it. And that felt so fulfilling to me because crochet was something that I actually enjoyed doing it, and I did it by myself. I was spending time by myself, and I was that was teaching my brain that I actually like myself, and it's okay to start trusting me. So spend time with yourself. Spend time winding down yourself. Spend time saying affirmation to yourself. Spend time journaling and seeing your thoughts on paper so that you can, really, it's like being in communication with yourself and getting to know yourself. Show yourself that you are a priority. You do and find time for everything and everybody else in your life. So you are teaching yourself that everything and everybody else is important. But if you don't also do that for yourself, you're telling yourself that you are not a priority. And how could you expect yourself to trust you if you can't even find time for you? So spend time with yourself. The fourth thing that I did, step number 4, was I honored and held space for my emotions. Honoring and holding space for your emotions is so important. If you're a parent, or even if you're not a parent, but people who are around children a lot, in this new generation, we are on social media talking a lot about parenting and reparenting ourselves, or gentle parenting. These are big topics that come up in the parenthood and personal development and personal growth forums on social media. And I would say that us not having space or having our emotions validated as children taught us that our emotions don't matter. And essentially, we don't matter because our emotions are a part of us. And for me, I am a parent, and I realized what it did to my child when I would dismiss their emotions. And I could physically see what that did to my child. And I had to learn how to validate their emotions in a healthy and safe way, which showed me that I was not doing that for myself. I was not validating my emotions. If I felt an emotion, I would find every reason and excuse why that wasn't valid, why I need to change it and change it right now, why I need to have a different emotion towards this specific thing, instead of sitting with myself and actually focusing on why I am having this emotion and assessing the situation and seeing that this emotion is actually valid. I had to sit and validate and honor my emotions. And that looks like, Kina, you are feeling angry. And XYZ happened, and XYZ would make anyone feel angry. So, this anger that you are feeling right now, this is okay. This is valid. I understand why you're feeling this anger. And I would sit in that and honor that and work through that and talk myself through that until I got to a place where I could release that anger and transform that anger into something else. But it all started with me honoring the fact that I am angry, and the anger in this moment is valid. The same thing with sadness. I feel sad because this specific thing happened. And it was out of my control. I had no control over that. And anybody in this position would feel sad. It's okay that you feel sad. Your emotions in this moment is valid. This sadness in this moment is valid. When you speak to yourself, there's something about speaking to yourself like that and really feeling it in your body. When you speak to yourself like that and you honor your emotion, it genuinely helps you to move through sad emotion, and it genuinely help this is literally a healthier way to process your emotions by honoring and validating them. And this helps your brain or yourself to see you as some person who cares and to start to trust you more. Step number 5, my last and final step, the last thing that I'm going to share with you today is to pay attention to your achievements and celebrate yourself. Listen, there are things that you are already doing that you are already good at, small or big. If you are good at setting up phone and everybody in your family calls you to set up their new phone or to help them fix something on the phone or show them something, and you are really tech savvy, focus on that. And every time you are able to do that for yourself or somebody, celebrate that. Every time you set a small goal or a big goal, whether your goal today was to sleep for 10 more minutes and you slept for 10 more minutes and you did that, celebrate that. If your goal today was to drink an extra glass of water and you did that, celebrate that. Because each time you become aware and you pay attention to the positive things and the things that you are accomplishing, you are teaching your brain and you are rebuilding your brain and you are reprogramming your brain and you are building the habit of doing things that you can do. So it helps to build confidence and it helps you to trust yourself more with trying things and doing things. Try different things too. Each time you celebrate yourself, it feels good. And this really helps when you pay attention to, when you notice the things that you actually accomplish, the small things, it makes you feel good. You start to trust yourself more and you become motivated to try better things, bigger things, new things. And I think I want to add a sixth step. Having this feeling like I need to share this. Try things without fear of failure. Listen, our fear of failure stops us from trying things, and this will in turn stop us from achieving things, and this will in turn stop us from building the muscle of trusting ourselves and trusting our abilities. Start small. Like it could be the smallest thing, like a childish thing. Like if you've never built a snowman before, go outside right now and try to build a snowman. And the reason why I say start with small things like this is because this isn't something that matters. Who cares if you can't build a snowman? No one cares if you can't build a snowman. So there is less pressure to be perfect with building this snowman. And it doesn't have to be building the snowman. It can be building a little house block or trying to draw a house. There's no pressure to do it. So failure is not going to be this big devastating thing, but what if you do it and you actually get it done? The same sense of fulfillment and achievement that you would have from achieving something big, you are going to feel that, and that is going to start to reprogram your mind to trust you, to try new things, to trust you that you can do things, that you can achieve things. So I would say try things without the fear of failure. Don't put pressure on yourself to get it perfect the first time. Take that pressure off of yourself. You are building a muscle that takes time. The more things you try and you accomplish, the more you are telling yourself that you can do things, the more you will start to trust yourself. And let me tell you, self trust is very important because if you don't trust yourself, then you can't move forward in any type of growth because you don't trust that you are capable of doing it, and it would always hinder you. I want to invite you today to just try these things that I would have shared today Whether or not you are consistent with it, whether or not you do it to perfection, try them. See where it goes. One step at a time, one foot behind the other. And the more you continue to try, the more consistent you would be, because the more likelihood you are to achieve. And the more you achieve, the more confidence you would have in your abilities, and the more you would trust yourself. Really hope that what I said today was able to help, even in the smallest way. And I really do hope that we can continue to grow together and really continue on this path of doing selfish, because doing selfish doesn't make us selfish. Thank you guys so much for watching and for listening. Have a great day and see you in my next episode.